Thank you for tuning into this video about the court system. In particular, this video is going to focus in on kind of the goals of court and the goals of having a court proceeding. And in the big scheme of things, the courts are trying to achieve justice. They're trying to right some sort of wrong. They're trying to provide justice for maybe a family or a person that's been harmed by a criminal in some sort of way. So sometimes the courts don't work out as well as we kind of hope they would. For example, uh, you probably know this individual. His name's Kobe Bryant, and he's famous for being an NBA basketball player and an NBA champion of the LA Lakers. But what happened is he did get in trouble with the law, and he got in trouble with a sexual assault case early on in his career, and basically you had someone that was trying to remain anonymous, claiming um, that Kobe Bryant assaulted her, and she wanted to remain anonymous because of the backlash that would be received for kind of calling out such a celebrity. Kobe Bryant at the time was extremely popular, important to the franchise of the LA Lakers, and she didn't want to have like a backlash of fans, basically all up in her business and bothering her and harassing her. So she wanted to remain anonymous, and the court was, honoring that request as they certainly can. And the court proceeding was just about to get going when suddenly someone within the court, the clerk of court's office, accidentally released her name. Now, this immediately created that backlash that she was trying to avoid. There was reporters outside her home. There were death threats to her phone number. There were death threats in letter form written to her from fans of the Lakers. So the response was not something supportive. It was basically terrifying to the individual that was trying to bring these charges against Kobe Bryant. She immediately drops the charges against Kobe Bryant to try and get out of that spotlight. So here's a time where we don't necessarily get justice. The individual doesn't get justice here. We don't see a trial to see if there was actually any information here that would have found Kobe Bryant guilty or innocent for that matter. So we don't get justice in even knowing necessarily what happened. But overall, courts and trials try to provide some sort of justice, and they try to achieve, four big goals along the way, four functions. For example, they try to protect the person that's been charged. Kobe Bryant, needed to have some rights protected as well. So he has the right to an attorney. He has the right to, try to fight the charges that are brought against him. And it's important that we protect the individual's rights because you don't want the government with all their resources to be able to just steamroll you in any given trial. So even if the government claims that you've done something illegal, you have the right to basically protect yourself. You have the right to defense against that government. Even though the government has a lot of resources, you have the chance to get your resources as well, and even get a lawyer from the government if needed. So both parties are, they're treated equally in a courtroom, and that's what due process is all about. Due process is about having a fair trial, and it's about having a trial that's going to not just assume that the person being charged is guilty. It's going to give them a chance to defend themselves. Now, of course, crime control is a big function of the courts too. You want to prevent crime. And one way to do that is by providing punishment and retribution. So, punishing individuals does prevent crime. It provides that deterrent for future criminals to commit crimes. You're less likely to commit a crime if you know the harsh penalties that could come with it. This is what we were talking about with Singapore earlier on this year, where Singapore has pretty harsh punishments for drug trafficking. Any possession of drugs is considered drug trafficking, and the individual is hanged. That is a great deterrent. It's preventing people from even thinking about getting involved with that illegal activity. And that can help control some criminal behavior. That's not going to stop everything. Certainly, it's going to try and protect the public, but it's not going to protect everybody. But it is a, a part of it. You can't necessarily just have police without some crime control. And of course, it just gets criminals off the streets. You have less crime out there if you have habitual criminals in jail. And that's something that courts can provide. Now, rehabilitation is something that the courts do focus a lot of time on. They know that not every criminal is going to stay behind bars for their entire life. So, part of their job needs to be to rehabilitate the individuals, to make them productive members of society, to treat them as people that need help, to help like juvenile offenders, to get kind of on a better path, to help them get an education, to help them get an area of focus where they could be productive in society rather than falling into a life of crime. Because quite frankly, there's too many people that they go to jail or go to juvenile detention and they end up right back there. And the courts are trying to do their best to try and get around that, or to stop that system by sentencing people to facilities that are going to help them, that facilities are going to make them more productive members of society. And that also goes with people that are, you know, some people have psychological disorders, and providing them with a facility that's going to help them to, be better in their disorder. And the last main function of courts is to be efficient. We need courts to process things very, very quickly because we want it to be efficient. We want it to be speedy. You don't want to imagine you are arrested for some sort of crime, and it's going to take like 2 or 3 years for your trial to come up. That's not a speedy trial process. That's a trial process that is going to get you in a horrible position. You're not going to be able to do anything for 2 or 3 years. And what if you were innocent? And you spent like 2 years of your life in prison because you could not afford bail. This does, happen in some countries. And in America, we want to make it as efficient as possible. So, for example, we have traffic courts in America, and those traffic courts are built on efficiency. You essentially have 5-10 minute trials, and most people don't come to defend their traffic court dates. They don't go to fight their traffic citation. So the court process goes very, very quickly. The courts encourage plea deals. So people, strike deals to avoid a lengthy trial. Lengthy trials slow down everyone else's trials. So the courts try to be as efficient as possible. Think like Judge Judy. Her trials are very quick. In fact, arbitration itself, which we talked about earlier, of those civil cases, is something that tries to speed things up. We want the courts to be efficient, not bogged down in bureaucratic nightmares. So these are kind of the 4 important functions of the courts. You'll certainly be quiz or test on these, so make sure you've made a note of them, and stay tuned for the next video.